Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Ngini Titan. We're here on the Comet. We're in a Tier 7 battle, very decidedly Tier 7 battle, and I'm in the, well, obviously the Comet, the Tier 7 British medium tank. It comes out to the Cromwell before the Centurion line starts out proper. The last really of the cruiser tank style tanks that the British were building throughout most of World War II. In fact, this one saw service right up until 1945, and later I think the Centurions didn't really come. First Centurions weren't delivered to the British Army until around 1945. Now, in Dukla Pass, I prefer to fight in the northern edge of the map. I actually think that the northwest quadrant of the map in Dukla Pass is probably the most important, is the most useful area to engage in if you can get the numbers over there. It's very hard for the north spawning team. They quite frequently do not send tanks in this direction, and I think the 8-9 line is actually a waste of time, especially for the northern spawning team. Most of the time they come to a grinding halt when they run into the enemies at the bottom, and usually the enemy can get them in a crossfire and force them back. What happens is you're forced to queue up at corners. 1 or 2 tanks can engage the enemy, but the enemy have 2 to 3 tanks that can engage back. Anybody else adds themselves, they have to expose themselves completely without any cover, and then they get focus fired by the enemies out in the open and taken out, and gradually the northern team just loses tanks like that are pushing out into the open to try and get shots off. They don't always lose, sometimes they do win, and sometimes the enemy team does not send a strong force to the eastern side of the map. But often in that case, if the enemy sends a strong force up the western side of the map, what frequently happens is that the enemy strong force on the western side of the map wins the western side of the map, defeats the enemy units on the northern side. Their companions lose on the southeastern side of the map, and then that northern force, turns back around and annihilates the northern spawning force, trying to exploit out into the cap circle, because that's a completely open area. The whole southwestern quadrant of the map is wide open, pretty much the same as the northeastern quadrant of the map as well. Attempts to exploit out from the northwest over to the eastern side of the map is usually a failure as well. If the enemy have tanks to defend the position from the high ground there south of the cap circle. Now, I came into a rather advanced position to see if I could get some spots, but when I spotted this light tank behind me, I thought, right, it's better to get out of there, and get out of there quickly. We have a light tank in an advanced position of our own, but he's not going to survive. That's kind of pointless activity. So I'm going back, and I'm fortunate enough that there aren't too many enemy tanks in a position to shoot at me, because I was able to cross a considerable amount of open ground, spotted, but without being shot at. Come around here and there's an ONE crossing the open field, and we're able to get some shots into it. We don't get too many penetrations because it's kind of hard to do precise shooting at this range. Even though it's a pretty good gun on the Comet, it's not that good, and you need a fair amount of precision at this kind of range to penetrate the weak spots on an ONE. But I was kind of hoping to track the ONE out in the open and make it easy for artillery or something to take him out. It's pretty obvious that not too many people are shooting at him out there either. He's taking no damage, and I think the only one who's really hitting him is myself. And it's just he's taking one hit there now as he crossed over into the line of sight of some of my allied tanks. But when he was actually out in the field, I think he was hidden from most of the tanks on my side. The 3 tanks to the north of me they're looking west, and they're not in a position to see what I'm shooting at all. So we have some medium tanks that have slipped in. Now they could have been in a position to shoot the ONE, but the ONE has actually moved back into cover. So I'm just double checking as well that the ONE is still not visible. The enemy have advanced somewhat forward, and I can see the T-21. We track him out in the open, so he's doomed, and we're going to catch him. If we don't catch him in this shot, we'll catch him in the next one. That's him out of the way. Now there's another enemy medium tank, and again I'm just double checking. I gotten spotted by somebody, so I'm just pulling back, because I'm not too sure where I'm spotted from or by whom, and who might exactly have a line of sight on me. So I'm going to pull back, get the spotting dropped, and then try and relocate back to where I can see something useful. Now I can't see that medium tank. I don't know whether it's because I don't have a line of sight, or because I'm actually too far away for him to render. suspect I might have been too far away, because as I got closer there, he did appear on the map, despite the fact that I've given no line of sight to him. But now we've spotted 2 of the enemy tank destroyers. So I'm beginning to think that we're reaching a kind of a crisis here. I think we're actually starting to lose down in the south. The enemy are starting to get... They have a wide front, whereas we're attacking on a narrow front. And I think they're getting our leading tanks in a crossfire. And they're going to win that, because the leading tanks are going to get focused down. They're going to be shot at by multiple tanks, whereas they're shooting back only sort of more or less on their own. And they have multiple targets to shoot at, and usually they're not in a position to focus fire, because the opportunity when they're sort of out is not necessarily the same tank as they were shooting at the last time, and it's kind of hard to time it so that you shoot at the guy that you have the best chance of eliminating. So I'm making a run in here on the HTC T28 HTC. I'm willing to take a hit from him to take him out of the fight, because I'm going to be able to do a good bit of damage to him here while he is not facing me. I should probably have gone for a tracking shot. I missed the drive wheel there, and I missed it there again as well, and he gets the shot off, but he doesn't shoot at me, fortunately. So now during his reload I'm going to be able to get around him again and put a couple more rounds into the back of him. I don't want to be shooting from the front because I don't think I'd penetrate. So we've gotten him out of the fight, and now I'm going to go after the T-25-2. That would eliminate the enemy forces in this area, and it kind of leaves this whole sector wide open to our exploitation. Now, the T-25-2 is not facing me. He's got a slow rotating turret, so I can afford to watch his turret rotation, just stay out of his way and just circle around him. At this point I think I make a key mistake. Looking back and reviewing the video, I go south after the artillery, just wanted to clear up this whole flank. But by doing so, it takes me out of the main fight, and I think I would have been better off if I had gone east and engaged in the main fight that's going on the eastern side of the map. You can see there one of the enemy tanks is heading down into the low ground to flank our forward tank's position, and I think if I'd gone east I would have been able to engage him in a crossfire with the medium, and it mightn't have stopped the enemy winning that location, but it would have been it would have gotten me back in the fight quicker. I would have been engaged. It might very well have saved the heavy tank, if not saved the medium tank, and it would have slowed down the enemy exploitation up into our cap circle long enough for the guys that are coming south, the 2 guys that came with me, who would probably have gone south anyway, to engage in the defenders of the cap circle. Now there is a Leo that has stayed back to defend the cap. Now I think the Leo played fairly well. I just think that he wasn't expecting the 2 of us, myself and the T-34-85, to come after him. That he was expecting the 3 of us to go to the cap circle. I think his plan was to go around, slip into those bushes there around F1, and start sniping us in the cap circle and reset the caps to give his teammates a chance then to clear up into the northeastern corner. But because we came around, because we spotted him, he got caught out of position, and we do have a tank in the cap circle. And it's at this point the Leo player decides to sacrifice his tank in order to get the cap reset. He ignores the 2 tanks behind him, even though we are going to wipe him out, in order to get a reset in. Now he doesn't manage it until now. He gets the reset in, and then he's gone. However, at that point the enemy already have a tank in our cap circle, and they're 2 tanks actually in the cap circle. They now have 2 tanks in the cap circle, and they're ahead of us. They will be ahead of us very shortly on points, so I have to go back into the cap circle. It is possible I might have made it up to the northwest in time to get a reset before they would have capped out, but there's no guarantee that I or the other tank that's up there would do so. I have no idea of the health condition of that medium's up there that's trying to get the reset in, nor do I have, well, the artillery obviously can do it without exposing himself too much, and is probably the best bet for getting the resets. The medium is probably more likely spotting for the artillery. The other medium is heading up alright to try and engage directly. And if I was up there I could probably have engaged directly as well, because I would have the hit points to spare, but if I was on my way up there, they would have been gaining, we would have been gaining capture points down here at half the current rate, and there isn't that much difference between the two of us right now. So if I'd not been here, if I'd been racing north, we would have been much further back in the cap circle. We would have been at probably maybe 60 seconds remaining at this stage, rather than the 28 seconds or whatever it is that it is now. Now we have managed to get a reset in, so we have managed. So the situation isn't as critical, and I could possibly pull out of the cap circle and go for a lower reset. But the difference of the numbers up there isn't that huge, and I've no idea what the respective health pools of the various tanks are, and I think the risk would have been just excessive. I have done it in the past and finished up losing the game. So I think if I wanted to change the outcome of this game for a slightly better outcome, it would have been immediately after killing the T-25-2, and not when I drove down as far as the cap circle. However, we got the victory, and we didn't do badly. I mean, we probably could have done better, but we didn't actually get a bad result. We got over 2k damage, slightly over 2k damage. We got a first class mastery, 31,000 silver. We didn't get a whole lot of assisted damage, but we got number 1 by experience and 4 kills. So that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please feel free to share the video, to pass comments, make comments in the comments, and give the video a like. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you all soon. Bye for now.